Good morning and welcome to my Monday messages. I'm Rebecca. I'm a homeopath. I'm a QTT practitioner, life coach, and natural health advocate. And my Monday messages are an opportunity for me to share anything that I think might be relevant to all of us to enable us to become as conscious as possible of behaviours that are serving us, supporting us in where we want to be in life, and those that perhaps aren't serving us so well. And most importantly, giving ideas for managing those things and changing them where appropriate. So just coming in this morning to, first of all, actually, I felt I couldn't not mention what's happened in the US. It saddens me greatly, and it's a complex issue. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about the rescinding of a piece of legislation called Roe versus Wade, which basically allows for the freedom of women to choose whether they wish to continue a pregnancy or not. And it's been in place for the last 50 years. And as somebody who marched on the streets of London in my youth for the right to choose, it makes me very sad to think that we are still in that place where that is a thing, basically. So I don't want to go into it in any more depth right now. I just want to send love and support and love and support to all our sisters in the US who are affected by this, and our brothers, actually, because it doesn't just affect women. And to say that we stand with you, and the way forward is for us to stand together, to collaborate, to be as one, and to do whatever we can to ensure that this does not become a pattern across the globe, and particularly, obviously, in Europe where we live. So that's what I wanted to do today, is just publicly say we're feeling you in the US, and we're with you. Anyway, so that's that. If you're joining me live, you're very, very welcome. Do pop your comments or your questions or your experiences in the thread below. I always love to hear from you. And if you're on the replay, please do the same, and I will get back to you. So the main message today really was to just let you know that this will be the last live Monday messages for a couple of weeks, because I am taking a very much needed break. So for the last clinic day is the 29th, so that's Wednesday of this week, and I will be back on Tuesday the 11th, I think it is, no, 12th of July. So that means that there won't be any live Monday messages, but I will still be posting, but my social media presence will be a little bit less than normal, because that's part of me taking a break. And what I wanted to do today was just actually talk about a little bit about why we feel we need to take breaks and what doing that does for us. And for me, it's because I'm aware that I've been working and living fairly relentlessly for the last 2-3 years in a routine, in a lot of things that have become very rote, very automatic, very habitual. And some of those things are absolutely brilliant and I love them. And some of them I'm aware they just need shaking up, they need changing. And when I'm in the middle of it, it's very difficult, I find, to see the wood for the trees, to actually get some distance and really have clarity over what's working and what's not working. So for me, at this particular juncture in my life, I need to physically remove myself in order to affect that dissociation and that ability to just unharness my day-to-day feelings about what I'm doing. And get some clarity, work out what I want to keep and what I don't want to keep. And the purpose, therefore, of taking a break would be that, but also to come back with a better sense of, first of all, what's working, what's not working, and what I would like to do in order to change things. Because to me, taking a break, whilst it's incredibly valuable just for its own sake, because it allows us to recharge and rest and get all those lovely things that we get from the sun and sea and sightseeing and lovely food and all of those things, all beautiful, lovely, really valuable. Also, though, if we see it as an opportunity to use that clarity, that distance, to implement any changes, and they don't have to be huge changes, they can just be tiny changes that will make a difference to whether we feel so in need of a break in the future. If things are working well for us on a daily basis, we don't tend to get into a sort of crisis stage where we really need a break in order to actually maintain our sanity. So I hope that makes sense. Do let me know. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. And do you recognise that? Do you recognise that need to just get off the treadmill? And that's your main driver for taking a break. I don't want it to be my main driver in life, because my aim is for my daily life to invigorate me and stimulate me and to add to my enjoyment of life, because that is my life at the end of the day. And I'm kind of aware that although mostly that is the case, there are certain things that I seem to have taken on board over the last couple of years that are keeping me a little bit stuck, I think. So what I wanted to do was invite you all to think about that, and think about, if you are going on holiday, if you are taking a break of some description, what are you going to do with that break? Not what are you going to do on the break, but what is that going to give you going forward in the long term and not just the short term? Also, if you're not able to take a break of any description, how can you maybe get the same things that a break gives us, but without going away? And that's where the title of this live came from, really. And it's about becoming, one of the first steps is that we need to become conscious of what we're doing now. What we maybe are doing automatically, unconsciously, that isn't perhaps serving us very well. And it's easy, because that's the way we work, to have things happen on a daily basis that we actually most of the time aren't even aware of. I don't know how many times I have found myself driving in the car, for example, on a very familiar route. This used to happen more when I was driving kids to school and stuff like that. And suddenly noticing that I've my mind has been elsewhere, and I haven't really noticed the journey for the last few minutes. And obviously, in a car, that's not good driving. But that's what we do a lot, I think. And the way that we can interrupt that is to do those daily things differently. So you could, for example, choose to use a different hand to do something. So, I'm sure maybe some of you have heard the whole thing of cleaning your teeth with your less dominant hands. But you could choose to eat, swap the knife and fork over, or if you eat with a spoon, then swapping the hand over. You could, what else could you do? You could, if anyone's got any suggestions, pop them in the comments below. But things that you do really without thinking about them, and things that usually mean that because they're so automated, your mind is elsewhere. It's thinking about something else. So you're not fully present, and you're not really fully feeling or focusing on the tasks at hand. And often, when those things are interrupted, maybe by children wanting something, or somebody wanting something, it can be really discombobulating, basically, because you're so in automatic that you need to finish that task before you can actually switch the brain and do something else. And so we're more preoccupied than we think we are, if you like. And that sometimes means that we can take on too much, we can get overwhelmed. And it's often not until we've actually completed our daily routine that we finally work out that actually we're feeling the same thing as we did yesterday and the day before and the day before that, and we're not really sure why. So interrupting things by doing them differently. So as I said, different hands, or perhaps doing things at different times of the day, even choosing literally a different view of something, a different perspective. So maybe if you have got a regular route that you take, either walking or in the car, deliberately choosing to go on that journey a different way. Or even at the meal table, if you always sit in the same seat, choose a different seat. Choose a different seat on the train if you catch a train every day. Having meals, the contents of meals at different times. So, having what you would normally have for breakfast at tea time, or what you would normally have for dinner at breakfast time. It's a bit of fun, really. Kids love that kind of stuff. You can make a game of it if you like. But sometimes it's just enough to make us really conscious and mindful of what it is that we're doing. Also, to introduce the idea that change is possible, that we can actually do things differently, because it's often very, thank you for the hearts, it's very attractive to think that we are comfortable, that we do this because we've done it every day like this, and there isn't another way of doing it, but there's always another way of doing it. And sometimes when we do deliberately do things differently, it shows us that perhaps we don't need to do them at all. Or actually we can do it in a much more productive way, much more creative, much more fun way. So I wanted to encourage you to choose what things you could do daily that at the moment, if you're honest with yourself, you're really not conscious of. They've become a bit of a habit, a bit of a routine. How could you do them differently so that you get greater clarity over where you can get more enjoyment, mostly, and more pleasure and more play, get more mindful, all of those things. Because if we want to implement any change in our life, any change, no matter how big or how small, We have to have that consciousness of what we're already doing, and actually having the ability to create habits like that is a really valuable skill. It's essential, in fact. And if without it, we wouldn't actually be able to function. But it's like anything. If it takes over and everything becomes automatic, non-thinking, then any discernment or judgment that we might have, or any real feeling, goes out the window as well. So I wanted to encourage you to do that on a daily basis, maybe for the next couple of weeks, and just record how you feel, how differently you will feel. Maybe not immediately, but perhaps at the end of each day or the end of each week. What difference does it make to you to notice more about that journey that you have been taking every day for the last God knows how long? What do you notice about sitting at the meal table with your family, but from a very different seat at the table? What do you notice when you clean your teeth with a different hand, or write with a different hand, or draw with a different hand? What do you notice if you wear a colour that you've perhaps been told or you believe somehow doesn't suit you, or makes you look too old or too young or whatever? Just try on different perspectives and different ways of doing things, and see what opens up from that. And then that will allow you to start becoming more conscious of other things as well, and what else may be possible if you allow it in. So, yes, what else did I want to say? Yeah, that's about switching times as well. If you always do something at 3 o'clock, what's going to happen if you did it at 4 o'clock instead? Those kind of things. And also, if you are going on holiday, then just becoming conscious that if you have identified that your current routine is exhausting you, is bringing you to the point of exhaustion, or a sense of relentlessness and any of those things, it doesn't have to. You're in control. You can change it anytime you want. But first, you need to be conscious of what it is that you're doing. So when you come back from your removing yourself from that, use that clarity and that drive, that renewed energy, to implement those changes, because there's no point in going back to the same routine, because this is where it got you. It brought you to this place where you were desperate for a holiday, a break. So, yeah. So that's me for this Monday. Thank you so much for listening, and wishing you all a very lovely 2 weeks of reflection and enjoyment and consciousness. And do pop anything into my comments or my, with my videos. There are lots of videos to choose from, so maybe you could choose one of the ones that's already been recorded and just see if that resonates. Or you could use this as an opportunity to maybe revisit some of my blogs. I've got a big collection of different blogs on the website, and there's a link to the website below this video. And obviously there are lots more information about how I work on the site as well. So do have a good look around, have a read of some blogs, and again, let me know what you think of them. And I may post from where I'm going to, I may not. It depends on how the break is going. But I will see you again in 2 weeks' time. So take care, and thank you so much for joining me. Lots of love.